Huzzah! My name is Delia Marcellos Traster, owner of Phoenix Magic. As many of you know, I have a store at Crafted in the Port of LA. I share some space with my work partner, Suzanne of Bellendaria. Last weekend, I had the opportunity to interview some of my friends at Crafted and get their take on adornment. My first interview was with Iris of Iris's Petite Bake Shop. She makes gluten-free cookie mixes, among other things. And I was absolutely delighted by the way that she dresses, which is with a 1950s kind of flair. And so I asked her about that. That's our first interview. Then I met with Mary of 7-Eleven Miracle Company.
Well, I think that the way that we dress is sort of an external representation of who we internally are or who we internally want to be. So I was somebody who always really grew up trying to hide myself. So I wore a lot of baggy clothes and jeans and didn't really want anybody to pay attention to me. So part of me sort of accepting myself and who I was deciding that I didn't have to hide who I was. And part of that was being comfortable wearing things that I thought were exciting or fun and not feeling embarrassed and not feeling like it was a bad thing to attract attention to myself.
That's really awesome. So all of that 1950s flair clothing is about expressing who you are.
Yeah, I mean, those are the things that I thought were really beautiful, and there was sort of like this sort of the classic beauty and sort of seeing the stars and seeing, old sort of bombshells and how much they sort of represent this like idea of beauty and femininity and strength. And while maybe that might not have been how I felt about myself, I felt like those were the things I wanted to feel about myself. And so by sort of like, putting on the dress and putting on the makeup, I could sort of act it out until I felt comfortable being that way. I remember the first time I ever, did the eye flick with my eye makeup. I did it when I went to the grocery store because I didn't want to see people I knew, but I thought if I went to the grocery store and if everybody accepted me at the grocery store, then it must be okay.
It was a safe thing to do.
Yeah, and then it was like, yeah, of course, and it totally worked, and now I hardly ever don't wear my eye makeup like that now. So,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So tattoos are probably not very 1950s flair, but
No.
I noticed that you have very cool tattoos.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me again what that one says.
So I have one which is a Maya Angelou quote, and this one says, "I can be changed by what happens to me, but I refuse to be reduced by it." And then on my shoulder I have flowers, and the thing for me is my tattoos have always been transitional periods and periods of growth for me. So I had gone through a really bad breakup, and I got the tattoo with the Maya Angelou quote because I didn't want to focus on the negativity of it. I think it's easy to sort of want to act out and be like, oh, I'm angry and I'm spiteful because I went through heartbreak. And instead, I was sad, and I wanted to feel that, but I also wanted to find something that was my expression of it without being pained by it. And when I got the tattoos of the flowers, it was this very legendary female tattoo artist, and it's based in Maria Marion, who is a botanical illustrator. And so it was two very strong female artists that I was working with in terms of the piece and what the inspiration for it was. And I was going through a transition in terms of my health at that time. And when I got the tattoo in 3 sessions. It was 9 hours altogether. It was 3 3-hour sessions. And when I got the first 3 hours, I was actually really sick. And then when I got the next 3 sessions, I was a little healthier. And then the last 3 sessions was when I was doing much, much better. And one of the things that we focused on was every time we added to the tattoo, it was flowers that were in different stages from being a tight bud to blooming and blossoming.
Oh,
And
that's amazing.
I wanted that to be my progression. So while I was going through these changes in my life and in my health, I tried to have the tattoo be that external expression of it. I think, while you can change your clothes and you can, change the style that you want to have with the tattoos that I've gotten, I feel like they're not necessarily a reflection of who I am at that time, because I feel like, I'm going to have them forever, but they're more a reflection of individual experiences that have happened to me, because those experiences won't go away. Whereas, I may change my mind and, in 10 years decide I want to do a different style.
Right.
So that's it's a different way than in which I approach the choices that I make.
It's awesome. It's awesome.
Cool.
So, hey, I'm still at Crafted, and my next interview is with Mary of the 7-Eleven Miracle Company. And her sign says, "Magic you wear." Now, you know why that impresses me, right? And I love Mary's work a bunch. I really appreciate that she and I are in simpatico about a lot of things related to magic and adornment and intention and the value of the things that we can put together and wear and how that can change our world from moment to moment. I'm sort of sitting here right now and I'm looking at Mary's case. So what she has developed are various formulas combining special oils and other objects of what I would say is magic. And she puts them in little vials that you can wear as a talisman or just a necklace. You don't even have to tell people what you're up to. But it's great. These are great intention pieces. And I've had a lot of fun in the last 2 years that I've known Mary and had the opportunity to learn more about what she does. I get very excited about what she does. I wish to goodness gracious that more people knew what Mary did. And so it's very excited. So Mary also agreed to be interviewed today for my little piece on adornment of meaning. As we know, it's not always jewelry, but in this case, these are jewelry pieces, but they carry a lot of magic. So go, Mary.
Well, you're absolutely correct that they are pieces of jewelry, which came from the fact that I started out as a jeweler before I ever got introduced to the concept of magical amulets and charms. Even before I started doing this, I always was drawn to things that were symbolic. The first jewelry line I ever did was symbols, and they were very traditional symbols like spirals and stars and crosses of equal arms. And the idea that always bringing some kind of tradition into something and allowing people to put it together in a way that made sense to them. Like you could take this charm and mix it with that charm because you needed courage or you needed direction. So that was always part of my aesthetic in terms of making jewelry. When I was introduced to this, it brought it to a whole new level because this became much more about the magic, and really the jewelry just became a way for people to have it in their lives, to have it with them, and to feel like it was working for them all the time.
Right, instead of like a poultice bag.
Well, and the original form that this tradition comes from would have been a mojo bag. It would have been a canvas bag where you put the herbs and you would feed them with the oils and you would hide it. It would be hidden. It would be in a woman's bra. It might be in a guy's pocket, whatever. I like the idea of turning it into something pretty and something that you could wear. And, if you want to hide it, certainly you can. But if you want to have it out there for people to see, that's okay too.
For me, that's about 21st century magic. Nobody's getting burned at the stake these days, so that kind of works. So tell me more about the potions. Pick one and tell us about it.
Well, okay, probably my favorite is the 7-Eleven Holy Miracle, which is where the name of the company came from. In this tradition of folk magic, a 7-Eleven Holy Miracle was what you called on when circumstances were dire and you needed immediate spiritual assistance. So the way we might say, oh, it's going to take a miracle to get that project done, if you were in the South at the turn of the century, it'd be like, holy Lord, I need a 7-Eleven miracle. Okay? And the formula, the oil, which is also called 7-Eleven Holy Miracle, is a very traditional formula that comes from the Bible and is meant to imitate the oil that Moses took to consecrate the temple, and is considered to be very general for blessings, divine intervention, protection, empowerment, sort of all the things that you could possibly imagine that you needed. So that formula contains obviously that oil, that 7-Eleven Holy type oil is what it's traditionally called, and also angelica root, which is for protection, It has golden seal, which is for those who seek truth and beauty. It has frankincense, which is all about creating sacred space and bringing in benevolent spirits. So it has these different components which are really just meant to bring the divine into your everyday life.
That's really, really awesome. And it is, to me, it is the antithesis of adornment with meaning and that which you can draw to you through that intention. So would you say that adornment with intention can create result?
Absolutely. I hear so many stories, and part of the great thing about being here at Crafted is because I have a permanent space where people can come back and find me, I hear stories. People buy a potion or a spell, and they're always a little skeptical. I shouldn't say always, but most of the time they're a little bit skeptical, but something draws them to it, something makes them think, it might work, and so they go for it, and oftentimes they'll come back and they'll say, I got that job. Or I had a lady just in yesterday, and she had bought a love potion because she was estranged from her husband, and she's like, I don't really think there's any hope, but I'm drawn to this, and I'm just gonna try it. And she came back to tell me they'd gotten back together, and her mom was with them, and the mother's like, we never in a million years thought that this would happen, and it happened. And I've had people tell me they got engaged after they bought a spell. I had a girl whose brother was very sick with stomach cancer, and she had me make him a formula, and she came back and she said he recovered, and she really thought that the bottle was a very powerful force in his recovery. So
wow.
My favorite tagline is, can't hurt, might help. And when these people come back and tell me stories, it's like, well, was it because of the formula? Who knows?
Or was it just intense intention?
Their belief. They believed in
right.
something. They believed that there were forces in the universe that could empower them. And if all the bottle is a representation of that, it's a physical reminder that there are benevolent spirits who are here to assist us, who do want us to achieve our best and most creative and most wonderful selves, well then that's plenty for me.